Namo for Namo Fa, Namo Sing. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. So here we are. I'm very happy to receive you for the first commentary on this first part of the booklet, Keeping the Earth of Light. So this is based on the 48 methods to Nyenfu. And the very first aspect we will see is the first one of the manual, and it actually is the first one in a triad. We will speak about the well-known in Buddhism mind, speech and body connection. So the text begins with Buddha recitation and the mind. I will just read it and make some commentaries in a very open way. This is an open teaching. So I will also drink from time to time, and I'm a human being just like you. So the text says, having made up your mind to engage in pure practice by reciting the Buddha's name, you should not dwell on sundry good or bad actions once they have been performed. Very good advice indeed. You could ask, okay, I thought that first part was about mine, and here we are talking about my actions. Well, that's the whole thing. You are at the art of Chan or Zen, of our practice. When we talk about attention, we talk about attention in action. The famous karma that we take in so that we make so much of, especially in the West, means action. And actually our mind really depends a lot on the causes that actions are. A lot of our mind is the consequence of our own actions. So the first thing is really to let go, to not dwell on good or bad actions. Or in other words, like the text says, in everyday activities it should be carried out in a matter-of-fact way. Let it go. You know, one of the Dharma words, which is kind of the wisdom words that the Master generally gives, one of our founders, Master Jilin, the Dharma word was satisfaction. One of Shuyin Dharma words was let it go. It is really in the same state. Don't grab it. Don't try to suppress it. Master Huineng, the sixth patriarch, gave us the same advice. But it's not about only minding our cautions in the formal practice. It is in everyday life, and it is about our actions. And that's sometimes what our problem is that we think, okay, we are Chan Linji, we are the school of minds, so we don't care about our actions. No, that's where it begins. And the text says, just like Huineng used to say, do not hold on them, or they will disturb your peace of mind. So really, our relation to our action and the consequences in your mind, that's where a great chain constructs itself, and it's tying us. The text says, the reason you fail to let go of good or bad actions is that your mind has not yet been tamed. So this image of taming can be seen in a very literal and oppressing way, or in a very open way, like taming the ox, these beautiful Zen pictures, Chan pictures of the ox being tamed. It takes time, it is about relation. It is not about only putting a rope on it, or at least not always. And it gives an advice. If you have recited the Buddha's name to the point where the mind ground is bright and clear, the mind ground, which is really our fundamental nature, the fundamental, that's what the ground is really. It's the root, the most fundamental aspect of mind. And when we speak about mind here, what are we talking about? Well, we will see it later, and actually a big part of the Chan teachings are all about this, and each master gives a different aspect on it. And part of sharing with the student the different aspects of mind is what makes is what is at the core of the direct and personal relationship between a teacher and a student, and that's what takes place during Sanchan, Sanzen or Dokusan, Zen interviews. And it is different that what we are doing here as public teaching. This is seen as a teaching hall and not as a personal interview in the master's room between a teacher and a student. So, I won't go into the different aspects of what mind is, but we see that in this text, this person isn't advocating us to recite the Buddha's name, to go to heaven. It is really about, from the beginning, seeing the consequences of our actions in our own minds, and see the mind ground, our own nature, our own mind, art, what we are all of, bright and clear. And it says the mind in samadhi, the mind in full contemplative absorption, in the mind in no ego, has no room for sundry thoughts. And you might say, okay, that's because you suppress them. And you will see that it has nothing to do with it, nothing to do really with suppressing thoughts, but it can be a trap. And recitation can be a big trap where you just end up in an hypnotic kind of practice, which can be very satisfying, by the way, but is not what good practice is about. So in this second part, it was pointing to the cause of the problem. Our mind wasn't totally pacified. When it is pacified, when it is just as it is, then it is clear and bright. So generally our mind is contracted, tensed by all that is holding, all this mongering, all these thoughts again and again, kind of crystallizes. It is nothing per se, but it crystallizes in our minds. And then the text says, okay, you should realize that Buddha recitation can turn ordinary persons, just like you, just like me, into sages. What it means is that this practice will give wisdom. And that's actually one of the traits of a Buddhist practice. It is based on discipline, sila. We develop it through meditation, samadhi, and as a result it has prajna. And I won't go into the debate. Each school sees the different aspects of it, gradual or not, or as it wants, but that's what it is about. And so that wisdom is the result of the practice. And as wisdom is seeing yourself, seeing your actions, seeing the consequences of your actions, and how your mind functions. So you can say that is a Pure Land text. I say that is a Chan text. And really comes from a phase where Chan and Pure Land are one. That's what our tradition is all about. So the text goes on saying, it is the most important means of liberation in these words and in the words beyond. Just that. So that's the end of this first part about mind. The second part is about watching the mouth, speech, during Buddha recitation. Having decided to practice Buddha recitation, do not be reckless or inconsiderate with words, nor let your speech be tainted by bad karma of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct or dishonesty. So basically, when you enter the practice of Buddha recitation, be cautious about words, as it is your main tool, either mentally or out loud, to practice. Be attentive to it. Start to see how important words are, and try by words, because we do it so easily, to not steal, to not kill, to not have sexual misconduct, to not be dishonest. It is not as easy as it is, because especially in our society, where everyone wants our attention, our opinion, and whatever, we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk, and my students know how chatty I am, so I'm the first one in here. But we have to be conscious about it, because that's our natural tendency, blah 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 blah. But words have a meaning, and language has a central place, really, in our lives, especially as human beings. And a lot of Zen training is about that, and each one has a personal relation to words and language, and that's really also about that, and going beyond words, beyond thoughts, is also going through them. The text goes on saying, if you have heard, remind yourself immediately that Pure Land practitioners should not utter inconsiderate words. It is important in some cases to remind yourself that you're on a path. It is not about, and you could say, okay, what is this whole thing about? It is not saying, okay, I'm a member of a club. No, actually it's a tool against culpability. Because when you see that you use your speech inconsiderately, generally you don't know where to put yourself. You are, or we are, I am, how to say that? Ashamed of ourselves. But don't need for culpability. No good or bad thoughts here are needed. Just remember yourself that you are on that path, and continue on that path. Remember that you shouldn't act in that way, and from then on try to not act in that way, and be attentive to words, to what you say, and to their consequences. And then the text says, recite the Buddha name aloud a few times, kind of wash your mouth, or in your mind if you want, to quell the mind and immediately wash away the unclean words. It is not about pure and impure or whatever. It is really giving you a tool to go beyond culpability, because it's so easy, especially as Buddhists. When we recite the 4 vows, we vow to actually save them all, practice them all, be Buddhas. Oh, what a burden. Culpability is easy, especially when we psychologize too much. So it's a wonderful tool. So we've seen mind, we've seen speech. What about body now? So, regulating the body during the practice of Buddha recitation. Having decided to practice Buddha recitation, you must keep your body pure. I just said that it is not about being pure or impure. Actually, it's in the Earth Sutra, you might say. Well, wait a bit. You must keep it pure at all times, and in all movements, and in all gestures, whether walking, standing, sitting, or reclining. When the body is pure, the mind will also be pure. So, it's impossible. If you think about the purity in a dual way, not seeing what the idea, the taste of purity is meaning in the text, and actually you're being an asshole, very picky. We could say, okay, that's impossible. Being pure at every jest and every movement, yeah, but what if I'm gowning? I can't keep myself tidy and pure. That's not what it is about, of course. Here, it means being in harmony, being in body and mind harmony. That's what it is pointing to, because it says, when the body is pure, then the mind is pure. And what it is all showing, really, is that body, mind, speech are in unity, and they all have an effect on one another. So when the body is pure, the mind is pure, the speech is pure. Don't let one of these doors be tainted by foolishness, generally, by laziness, and be on guard on another door. It is not about being a samurai or whatever. Just be attentive, sincerely. And what is good with that technique is that there are kind of different steps, and we will go along them in the next part, but basically it's a very simple technique, and the first steps of it are really just saying the name out loud. And we will enter a trance on the next part of the next sections of the first part on it, but you can just recite it, you can use it in a more intellectual way, you can use it in a very Zen way. So I will leave you with this, on this part of the text, on the relation between mind, speech and body, and recitation of a Buddha's name. Amitofo.